Action Comics number 17, written by Grant Morrison, art by Rags Morales and Brad Walker. Last issue, whole lot of stuff, can't even begin to explain it, just like I could barely explain this issue. So, we open up with crime scene. It was Mom and Pa crashing their car because of something that Vinny did, and Clark sees them, goes to the hospital with them. Martha is already dead, but Pa can't. He's holding on. He knows he's going to die, though, and he wants Clark to bring him back home so he can die in his own bed. And he goes there and he does the whole thing like, oh, you're destined for great things, Clark. Don't let anybody hold you down. Be a champion for the downtrodden. And he ends up dying. So then we cut back to now, where Superman is fighting against Super Doom. He's wrapped in kryptonite chains, and Super Doom just starts really laying into him and saying like, oh, you're going to die again and again and again and again. And Superman says, oh, I've got other plans. And Super Doom says like, I don't care about your plans, and crushes him down some more. Meanwhile, the Legion is going through the time stream. They go back to talk to Superman's landlord. I forget her name, Glenda, I think it is. But they ask her, when did Superman's parents die? Because that was like the first moment that Vinny changed. So they go back to the moment. They're too late. It's already happened. But Saturn Girl uses her telepathic powers to allow Martha to say, I love you to John just before she passes. So then we cut to later on in Vinny's time stream where he is telling Glenn Morgan back in like issue 1, like, oh yeah, I'll make a deal with you, which allows him to get out of the way for Lex Luthor to show up, which was Vinny's whole plan. But apparently he needs objects of cloth in order to make deals happen and like mess with people. So he is trying to get his hands on Superman's cape from that issue where Superman lost his cape. But then the kid picks it up beforehand and he's like, crap, all right, gonna have to try something else. And he makes the anti-Superman army, the army of, quote, Superman haters. So he makes his deal with all of them. And then we see Nimrod about to take a shot on Superman, or maybe already did, sending him to Mars, I think? I don't know. But then the Legion shows up and says, like, hey, Superman, we have to go back in time to the day that kryptonite was stolen. There's not a moment to lose. But they don't take Superman with them, I don't think. Again, I don't get it. Anyway, back to now. Super Doom's beating down Superman. He turns to Eric, the one scientist guy, saying like, hey, you may look like a monster, but you were a scientist. You can help me. I know there's a human in you somewhere. And he like stutters for a bit, like, maybe I should. But then Super Doom just throws him around some more. Then we get the Spider-Man moment where he lands in front of some people and he's like, Superman, let us get those chains off of you. And they turn to Super Doom like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And then Super Doom just fires lasers from his eyes and he's like, don't you get it? I'm a mimetic villain. The more you think of me, the stronger I get. And so he grows in size. Superman manages to melt a car door to his face in order to blind him temporarily. Then we cut to, I think, the future, where Superman is cleaning up the mess of Zadu getting out of the of the Phantom Zone. Saturn Girl shows up and he's like, hey, is this Vinny attacking? And they're like, he's always been attacking. Like, this is just where you start to feel it. And he's like, okay, well, do I win? And it's just like, you got to go to Mars, and then it's all up to you. So then we see the Legion going through the time stream one last time, and they're like, how could I tell him that he died here? It's too late. We can't save him. But as they're going through, they pass by Mixie, who's waking up in the hospital bed next to Lois and Jimmy, and he's like, oh, well, maybe we could help out here. So then we go one last time to Super Doom. He has to pull off of his helmet in order to see again, and we see underneath is a normal-looking Superman, but like with bony protrusions coming out of him, a la normal Doomsday. And then all of a sudden, Lex Luthor shows up in a giant fighting robot and says, step aside, nobody kills Superman but Lex Luthor. Did you get all that? Okay, so I'm not following the Legion stuff. I think I get the Vinny stuff where it's just, he's all throughout Superman's timeline. It's just messing with him. I get that. The Superman stuff itself, I understand him fighting Super Doom. I understand the past things, but like that part where he's at the fortress when Zadu escaped, I have no idea where that is. It's so, I feel like I need to have this entire run in an omnibus with like pages bookmarked to every issue. So that way when they make these tiny little references, it's like, oh yeah, remember when that kid stole Superman's cape? That's now referenced here too. And like it's pulling from every issue, which I can appreciate, but it doesn't mean I remember specifically when things were in comparison to other things, you know? All in all though, it is a well-told story. The art looks fine, if not good, like it's somewhere in there, but it is just an issue of it's full Morrison, and being able to follow it is going to take every last brain cell you have. So I'm going to give this one a 7 flat. It's fine, it's good. If I was reading this all in one sitting, I'm sure it'd be a hell of a lot better, but I'm reading it monthly, and hoo boy, does that take its toll.